Races are won and lost in the pits. One wrong move and you're toast. One perfect stop, you might just steal the checkered flag. But pit stops didn't always look like this. In fact, there was a time when they were barely planned at all. We're taking a look at how NASCAR pit stops evolved from slow and sloppy to precise and punishing. We're going to spotlight the best teams in each era who pushed the limits of what a crew can do in under 15 seconds.
With less than 100 miles to go, Pardue dives into the pits to refuel for the last time. All the leaders
Hey,
will have to
I'm Mitch.
stop
I've been a
once
NASCAR fan since I was a kid, hooked on the roar, the rivalry, and the rhythm of race day. What really kind of fascinates me is how this sport has evolved, especially behind the scenes. This channel is going to be all about digging into the mechanics, strategy, and the history that makes NASCAR a lot more than just turning left. If that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what you want to see get this same treatment. In the early days of NASCAR, pit stops were more like emergency surgeries than fine-tuned routines. Crew members were often mechanics or whoever was available. Stops could last upwards of 45 seconds. Strategy was optional and coordination practically non-existent. Enter the Wood Brothers racing team. In the late 1950s, the Wood Brothers pioneered the concept of a dedicated pit crew, a team solely responsible for servicing the car during a race. They practiced, they trained, they even choreographed their movements. It was simply revolutionary. Their innovation caught national attention when they were recruited by Ford to pit Jim Clark's car in the 1965 Indy 500. The Wood Brothers nailed the stop in 25 seconds, shocking the open-wheel world, spurring Jim Clark to victory. From that moment on, NASCAR pit crews had a new gold standard. But while the Wood Brothers introduced finesse, another team brought raw grit. In the 1980s, Dale Earnhardt's legendary pit crew became the face of old-school, hard-nosed pit crew mentality. Known for their toughness, speed, and their relentless work ethic, Earnhardt's crew didn't just service a car, they fought for spots on pit road. By the 1990s, pit stops were evolving fast. One team turned the dial to 11, Hendrick Motorsports. Rather than rely solely on seasoned mechanics, Hendrick began recruiting college athletes, football players, wrestlers, track stars, all to serve on their pit crew. The logic? Pit stops were a sport of their own. Speed, agility, strength, and above all, timing. These athletes trained in facilities that looked like NFL locker rooms, much more than garages. And as a result, pit stop times dropped dramatically, many starting to land below the 20-second mark.
Our pole center, Jeff Gordon, makes his first pit stop without even complaining that the car had gotten tighter and tighter. He said it was tight in the middle, and even tighter off. They now will make a major check to adjust in the right rear, change all four tires, and hopefully very, very easily be able to correct the problem so Gordon can get the car to third, coming off the corner. Left side tires off.
Here it's easy to see the growth in pit crew training and discipline from 1982 to 1998. Cole Yarborough's crew in 82 are giving it hell, but it's clear these guys did not show up to the racetrack today with pitting the car as their first priority. Then you look at Rusty Wallace, Jeremy Mayfield, and Dale Jarrett's crews in 1998, sharp, precise, and quick. This became the standard by the late 1990s. Now, I have to admit, when I dove into these clips of pit stops from the 1980s, even I kind of thought, hell, I could probably get out there and beat half of these guys. But then, I watched one quick reminder just, to stay home.
Right? Oh, come on.
Let's just say I might stick to YouTube for them.
And you have to hop the wall with those?
Jump over it with a car coming 55 miles an hour at you.
Guys, I'm running out of gas here. Jump! Jump!
By the 2000s, pit stops had become surgical. Crews were drilled with military precision. Roles were specialized. Jackman, tire changer, fuelers, all synchronized like clockwork. This era belonged to teams like Joe Gibbs Racing and Team Penske. They brought in engineers and sports scientists to refine every movement. Pit stops were filmed, analyzed frame by frame. Data ruled all. The average four-tire pit stop dropped to below 14 seconds. The difference between first and fifth place, sometimes less than half a second in the pits. Between 2000 and 2020, both Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski established themselves as premier talents in the NASCAR Cup Series, in large part thanks to their elite pit crews. By the end of the 2020 season, Kyle had amassed 57 Cup Series victories, making him the winningest driver in that era. Brad Keselowski's first Cup Series win didn't come till 2009, but from then through 2020, he achieved 34 Cup Series victories. Then came 2022. NASCAR introduced the Gen 7 car, and with it, the single lug nut wheel. Gone were the days of cranking 5 lugs per tire. Now you just got one big bolt. Boom. The result, even faster stops, but also a pretty steep learning curve. Strategy really shifted. Precision mattered a lot more. There's no more room for error when there's only one lug nut. But let's talk about safety real quick and why the switch to the single lug wasn't just about speed. Before 2022, NASCAR teams used a 5 lug nut system, like I said before, just like your average street car. It was tried and true, but in racing, tried and true is not always the safest route. Here's the issue. Under race pressure, a lot of teams can only hit 3, maybe 4 of those lug nuts to save a little time on pit road. But if all 5 lugs weren't torqued properly, you're creating a pretty big risk. Wheels came loose mid-race, even worse, they would fly off. And it happened a lot more than you think. Loose wheeled 180 miles an hour, we're not just talking a mechanical failure. We're talking a piss missile on a racetrack. One moment, it's part of the car. Next, stumbling down pit road, bouncing into oncoming traffic, launching over walls, puts drivers, it puts crews, and it puts fans in the stands at risk. So when the next gen car launched in 2022, NASCAR took the opportunity to make a pretty big change. A single center-locking lug nut, same kind used in IndyCar and Formula One. The design doesn't just speed up pit stops, but it locks the wheel much more securely. Now, instead of relying on 5 individual points that could fail, teams have one ultra-high-strength fastener holding the wheel on the car. It's not bulletproof, but it is a pretty major leap forward. Since the switch, incidents of wheels coming off have dropped dramatically. That means fewer debris cautions, fewer on-track hazards, most importantly, a much safer working environment for all the pit crews on pit road. But during this time, one of the most important innovations came from Joe Gibbs Racing, who introduced a radical new approach to how tire carriers position themselves and move during pit stops. Instead of traditional movement patterns, JGR's carriers began utilizing a more athletic crossover motion that cut down on their transitions. By having the tire carriers both travel around the nose of the race car and swap tires on each side, the teams avoided having one half of the crew being off on their timing and having to run around their gas man in the rear of the car. It took seconds off every pit stop. It also didn't take long to the rest of the field copy didn't put it in place for themselves. They really had no choice. These aren't just mechanics. They're athletes. They're strategists, performers. The pit crew, I think they're the heartbeat of every race team. We've seen legends like the Wood brothers Glenn Wood, RCR's Chocolate Myers, or Hendrick's legendary pit coach Andy Papathanassiou, and modern stars like RFK's tire changers, Dick Krizmanich, Zach Price. They redefine, I think, what's possible with the modern pit stop. Yet most fans never know their names till days like now. Chaos to choreography, NASCAR pit stops have evolved into one of motorsport's most fascinating subplots. And with every season, the bar gets dramatically higher. Here's the thing, NASCAR. If we could track launch angle in baseball and air pressure inside of football live, we should be able to track the precision of a pit stop. Right now, we celebrate average stop times, the fastest of the day, fastest of the season. But what about the people making that happen? What about the tire changer who goes an entire season and doesn't miss a lug? What about that jack man who hits that perfect lift on every stop from Daytona to Phoenix? In baseball, we celebrate a short stop with a perfect fielding season. In football, we break down every pancake block from an offensive lineman. But in motorsports, one of the most athletic, elite performances in the sport gets treated like background noise almost. And it's beyond time for them to change that. Pit crews deserve these stats. Give us these on-screen breakdowns of individual performance. Let us see who has the most clean stops, the fewest errors, who's got the quickest gun to tire time. Let fans follow these athletes the same way we follow these drivers. because the truth is we can't fully appreciate the skill, the consistency, or the pressure they perform under until we start to measure it. NASCAR fans are ready. Crews have earned it. Let's give these guys the same respect we give the drivers in the car. Track it, celebrate it, and let these pit road legends get the numbers they deserve. Real quick though, who's your pick for maybe the greatest pit crew of all time? Maybe the most important stop or favorite stop you have in your mind? You're going to see my answer at the end of the video. Drop yours in the comments. I'd love to look at them. If you like this deep dive, hit that subscribe button. I got more on the way because in NASCAR, every second counts.
About to live the chaos and go to pit road.
Right, Mark Trex came on the radio reporting that that car is just a little bit loose on the entries there, so we make small air pressure adjustment in the 19. Remember, this team struggled a little bit earlier in the race. They gained spots on pit road, but cleaned it up later. It's going to be 4 tires for Martin, Dave.
4 tires for Denny Hamlin as well. Let's see if the crew continues their pace as they have been. Good stop the last couple. He'll get 4 good and snow go through, Kelly.
Chase Elliott said it was just a little bit tighter that run. Could be from the damage when he got into the wall. It's going to be 4 tires for Chase Elliott as well, Marty.
Pass up into the